Chapter 71. Jordan was utterly mortified. He couldn't stay there any longer and scurried away. Oliver then approached Earl and enthusiastically invited him to have a chat about basketball together. That said, Earl politely uttered a few words before rejecting the offer, saying that he had no plans to do that at the moment. When Earl turned to look for Bianca, he couldn't see her anywhere. Samuel guessed who he was looking for and said, "A student called Bianca over and left with her." At first, Bianca wanted to talk to Earl after the match ended. But since Earl was surrounded by many people, she was unable to approach him. Then, her roommate, Shirley Tara, dragged her away. As they were in the same school and the same faculty, Bianca felt that they would be able to meet again in the future, so she left with Shirley. Once Earl found out that she had left, he felt a little upset. However, he also knew that they would have more opportunities to meet one day. Meanwhile, Belle was reading a magazine in her dorm room. Memories of the meeting between Bianca and Earl kept entering her mind. On the other hand, Luna was meticulously applying makeup. She planned to attend a banquet that day. The students had organized the event, and many talented chairmen from different student committees would be attending it. In fact, a mysterious guest from Zenith Alliance had been rumored to attend it. Thus, Luna planned to socialize with a few accomplished men there. "Belle, are you attending the banquet later on? I'll introduce a few handsome guys to you. I heard that there will be people from Summit Alliance attending it too." Belle wasn't very interested in the prospect, so she didn't reply. This made Luna a little unhappy. "Are you still thinking about that scumbag? Why would you care about him that much?" Belle remained silent and opened Alnugo University's School Confessions page. School Confessions was the internal blog of Alnugo University. Every hot topic would be discussed there. Strangely enough, School Confessions was very popular at the moment. The trending topic was the basketball competition between the freshmen of the School of Music and the School of Finance. The topic was attention-grabbing because the School of Finance managed to win at the last moment. After seeing that, Belle thought that she had been mistaken. However, as she read the post again, she realized that a substitute player who had been sitting near the water cooler had suddenly entered the court and overturned the game by himself. Looking at the enthusiastic replies on School Confession, Belle realized that the basketball player must have performed really well. He snatched the ball with phantom steals, did tomahawk dunks and windmill dunks, jumped level with the rim, shot a three-pointer from the midcourt, and blocked his opponents magnificently. Those basketball phrases appeared repeatedly in the blog as they described the amazing moments of the match. The basketball player in question turned out to be Earl. Many people called him a once-in-a-century genius. Some even thought that he would be able to enter the professional military basketball team and become a rising star in the professional basketball world. After looking at the comments, Belle regretted leaving early and missing out on seeing Earl play in the game. She wondered if Earl really was so good at basketball. After that, Belle started to view Earl in a new light. His guitar playing was touching, his gaming skills were excellent, and his basketball skills were amazing. It was as if Belle had seen a new side of him. Thankfully enough, some students who watched the match uploaded videos of it on School Confessions. Belle watched those videos and saw how skillful Earl was. Every slam dunk that he performed made her excited, and every successful defensive play made her gasp in awe. Chapter 72. Apart from posting about the competition, many people talked about the possible romantic relationship between Bianca and Earl on School Confessions. Someone revealed that Bianca had talked to him briefly before the match and had even asked him, "Why didn't you look for me?" The rumors were beyond ridiculous. In the end, people said that not only were they high school classmates for 3 years, but they had also kissed and lived together before. In fact, someone falsely claimed that both of them were married, but Earl had abandoned Bianca in the past. However, all those were just rumors, and no one could verify their authenticity. Belle was more concerned about Earl's performance during the basketball competition, as well as his current relationship with Bianca. At the same time, Flynn, who was lying in the hospital, was also shocked by those rumors. However, he saw someone post an awkward picture of him, wetting himself in fear. So, he was furious and hurriedly logged into the website to explain himself. Flynn said that he wasn't peeing in fear. Instead, he caused a puddle of water to form beneath him because he couldn't dry his clothes in time before wearing them for the last quarter. The more he tried to explain himself, the less people believed him. This made Flynn furious. He felt that this was all Earl's fault. As such, he decisively made a call. "Is this Hank Ridley? I'm Flynn. Can you come to Thompson Hospital if you're free? I want you to help me beat someone up." A while later, a tattooed muscular man entered his hospital room. "What's wrong, Flynn?" Flynn replied coldly, "I want you to beat someone up and break his limbs so that he becomes crippled." After that, he told Hank what had happened that day. The latter patted his own chest confidently. "I'll take care of it." Once Hank left, the doctor entered the room. Flynn asked anxiously, "Am I all right?" The doctor replied seriously, "Your condition isn't very good. You've got a lower body injury." Hank was confused. "What's that?" The doctor replied disdainfully, "Simply put, you injured yourself because you took 2 big steps." Immediately, Hank's face paled, and he cursed silently. "Is it very serious?" he asked. "No, but you need to rest for a while. Besides, you might have recurring issues later on. Please don't do vigorous exercises. Also, after examining your body, I've realized that your kidneys are very weak." Hank's face turned gloomy, and his hatred for Earl grew stronger. The next day was a bright and sunny one, and the morning air was very fresh. Earl was riding a bike to Patrick's workplace. After approaching a quiet road, he noticed an old van following after him. There were a few people glaring at him ruthlessly from inside the vehicle. When Earl turned back to look, he noticed a few muscular men staring at him through the car window. Frowning slightly, he drove his bike to an abandoned building and waited for the gangsters to find him. Chapter 73. Just as Earl alighted from his bike, the van followed behind him. Then, it did a pretty drift and almost crashed into a pile of dirt. A group of gangsters carried their baseball bats as they approached Earl. One stumpy gangster smiled at him. "Oh, so you're waiting for us to kill you. Do you know why we're looking for you?" Earl replied coldly, "No." After having his subordinates surround Earl, the stumpy gangster said, "Kneel and beg me for mercy. If you do that, I'll help you select a good grave and leave your corpse intact." Without replying, Earl nonchalantly locked his bike and picked up a nearby brick. "Ah, help, don't hit me, I'm sorry, have mercy on me, don't kill me." The battle ended in 1 minute. A few muscular men lay on the ground pathetically with broken arms and legs. Earl grabbed the stumpy gangster by the neck and asked sternly, "What's your name?" Since the stumpy gangster had been beaten up, he replied fearfully, "I'm Francesco Pig." "Which gang are you from, sir? How dare you talk back to me?" After Earl thrashed Francesco again, the latter yelled, "Have mercy on me. I won't do this again." Suddenly, Francesco's phone rang. When Earl picked up the phone, he heard someone roar, "Where are you, Francesco? Have you finished the job?" Earl intentionally changed his voice and said, "Boss, we're at Polania Ugoria Development Zone. The situation's a little difficult here, so you should bring more men with you." After that, he hung up and called the nearby police station. "Something terrible has happened. There has been a murder at the entrance of Polania. Yes, we're near Alnugo University. There is a group of men with knives causing trouble here." With that, Earl snapped his fingers and hid in a corner, waiting to see what would happen. A while later, 2 vans appeared swiftly and skipped into a drain. The group of gangsters in the vehicle climbed out. The leader of the group was Hank himself, who dashed out with his subordinates in tow, holding a blunt weapon. When he saw his injured subordinates, he instantly became furious. "What's going on?" he demanded. "Hank, run away. The cops are coming." His subordinates yelled fearfully. "That's bullshit. What's going on?" Hank shouted angrily. Alas, it was too late to run away. Soon, the sound of sirens was heard and a few police cars surrounded them. A group of policemen pointed their guns at Hank and his gang. "Put down your weapons or we'll arrest you by force." "Shit, who called the cops?" Hank's face paled in terror. He placed his weapons down and raised his hands behind his head. Then, the gangsters were taken into the police cars and driven to the station for further investigation. However, since Hank had a good relationship with the cops, he was bailed out after an hour of interrogation and was slapped with a fine. Fuck, I'm going to kill that bastard. After learning that Earl was the culprit, Hank was so angry that he wanted to chop him to pieces. Yet, it was already late at night. Thus, Hank controlled his temper and bid goodbye to his subordinates. He headed home with Francesco and prepared to take a shower before reflecting on what happened that day. But when they turned the corner, he suddenly realized that his van had been destroyed and its tires removed. The steering wheel of the vehicle had been stolen too. Instantly, Hank became enraged. Which bastard laid their hands on my car? Just then, he felt a gush of wind and a wooden stick hit him squarely on the head, almost knocking him out on the spot. Turning back, Hank saw Earl, who was holding a steering wheel and standing behind him with a group of men. This terrified him so much that his body trembled. Chapter 74. Earl said cheerfully, "You're pretty brave. You brought a bunch of gangsters to fight me." He wasn't one to be trifled with. After learning that Hank was the culprit, Earl called Caspian del Rosario and the others to deal with Hank and his men. Though Hank wanted to escape, he was held in place by Caspian. "Get in the car," Caspian barked as he dragged him into the van. Soon, a subordinate installed a spare steering wheel and drove them to a desolate area. As the surroundings became more barren, Hank was so scared that he stammered, "Where are you bringing me to?" Caspian slapped him immediately, breaking his teeth in the process. When Francesco saw that, he was so scared that he wet himself. In the end, the vehicle stopped near a reservoir. Hank and Francesco were thrown out of the vehicle. Earl pointed at Francesco and said, "Caspian, break this guy's legs first." When Caspian hit Francesco's legs ruthlessly with a stick, the latter screamed in pain, and his bones shattered. From the sheer force. Evidently, Caspian was setting an example for Hank. The tactic seemed to work because Hank was scared witless. "Please don't kill me. Someone ordered me to do his." Earl asked in a low voice, "Who made you do this?" Hank replied in fear, "Flynn." "So, that bastard was the culprit." Earl then asked, "Where is he?" "He's in room 508 at Thompson Hospital." To survive, Hank exposed Flynn without a second thought. Earl nodded, a glint appearing in his eyes. "Very good." After that, he motioned to Caspian, who threw Hank and Francesco into the reservoir, leaving them to their fates. Elsewhere, Flynn never expected Hank to betray him. Once everything was settled at the abandoned reservoir, Earl and Caspian drove to the hospital. A random delivery man appeared in the crowded hospital and told the receptionist, "I have a delivery for the patient in room 508. The nurse who was working nodded slightly. After the delivery man left, she muttered, "That hooligan in room 508 is so annoying. He chased the other patients out of his room and kept gambling and smoking there." "Yes, what a rascal." Once Earl heard that, he gave Caspian a meaningful look. The latter understood what he wanted immediately and said, "We're Flynn's friends. Let us send the food to him." The nurse nodded without looking at Earl. She was under the impression that Flynn's friends were hooligans too. After that, she saw Earl standing near the elevator and holding up the food containers with a smile. "It's dinner time. Let's eat before getting to work." As such, the group of people sat near the elevators and started eating. Flynn's food was pretty good. There were meat skewers and even a few bottles of beer and soft drinks inside. Once everyone was done eating, Earl waved and declared, "Let's go." A few subordinates swiftly held the bottles of beer in their hands. After arriving at room 508, they saw two gangsters squatting outside the room while playing poker cards. Caspian walked over and said, "Your food has arrived. It's too much so we can't carry them ourselves. Help us bring the food up." The two of them dumbly followed him into the elevator. Soon after, a few agonized screams were heard behind the closed doors. Once they dealt with the subordinates, Earl motioned for Caspian to knock on the door. Immediately, Flynn roared, "Fuck. Who's banging on the door again?" Chapter 75. Caspian replied, "Your food delivery is here." With that, someone opened the door. Earl's friend, Boris Johnson, took the leftover food containers and entered the room. Inside, Flynn was playing poker with his friends. His bandaged pelvis was visible from where he sat. Once he saw Boris with the food containers, Flynn cursed, "Are you crippled? The food took so long to arrive. Are you trying to starve me to death?" One subordinate took the food container from Boris. After opening the containers, he saw the leftovers and became furious. "Why are these empty? Are you playing with us?" Without another word, Boris punched Flynn's subordinate, instantly knocking him out. As if on cue, Earl, Caspian, and the others rushed into the hospital room and waved their beer bottles around. In the next second, screams of agony filled the room. Soon after, the badly injured Flynn was hung upside down. Earl smiled coldly. "I heard you wanted to beat me up, right?" Though Flynn was badly injured, he still had the energy to warn, "Don't be too smug. Kill me if you're brave enough, or this won't be the end." Since he thought that Earl wouldn't kill him, Flynn challenged him arrogantly. Earl waved his hand in the air and casually asked Caspian, "What do you think will happen if we throw this rascal out of the window?" Caspian answered excitedly, "He'll definitely be crushed to pieces, and his head will explode." Earl asked, "Will the police investigate us?" Shaking his head, Caspian replied, "Don't worry. He fell to his death by himself." After hearing that, Flynn roared angrily, "Don't try to scare me. If you're brave enough, then do it. Since you want to die that badly, I'll stop talking." Waving his hand dismissively, Earl easily carried Flynn to the window with Caspian. When the wind blew into his face and a rush of blood filled his head, Flynn became terrified. A pungent smell filled the air as he wet himself in fear. Earl looked meaningfully at Caspian as he ordered, "Let go of him." As expected, once Caspian let go of Flynn, one side of the latter's body dangled in the air, scaring him senseless. Earl swiftly grabbed Flynn's leg again. After a terrified screech, Flynn said, "I'm sorry. I won't mess with you again. Please have mercy on me. So long as you let me go, I'll do anything you want me to." However, Earl remained unbothered. "Why would I believe your words?" Chapter 76. Flynn was terrified and he hastily said, "I'll give you leverage over me. You can use it to make me do whatever you want. Please, spare me." His words were filled with desperation and pleading. Earl finally let Flynn down, but he was still so scared that he looked like he'd seen a ghost. His face was as white as a sheet, and he was panting heavily. Earl sneered at the sight. "I'm sending someone to get dirt on you. Right now. You have an hour to comply, or you'll regret it." Flynn trembled as he agreed. Thus, Earl left with his men. Later, Caspian and his men raided Flynn's dorm and struck gold in his computer files. The dirt they dug up on him was so deep that Flynn could face serious backlash. Seeing the information he obtained, Earl was thrilled. Now, Flynn couldn't escape his control no matter how defiant he tried to be. After leaving the hospital, Earl was in high spirits. He treated Caspian and the others to a feast and generously paid for them to relax at a spa. After they rested, they headed straight for the third-floor lounge. In the following days, Flynn stopped bothering Earl as expected. Oliver, on the other hand, had repeatedly reached out to Earl. However, Earl wasn't keen on becoming a professional player, leaving the former disappointed. Conversely, Belle didn't contact Earl again. Their relationship seemed to have fizzled out without a word. Earl felt a little downcast, but he understood that their relationship had been a mistake from the start. He had even tried to contact Bianca but eventually gave up. She had become so outstanding, and the gap between them had grown too wide. Perhaps their conversation on the basketball court had been just empty words. Even within the same university and faculty, they were destined to be mere acquaintances. Yet, Earl refused to be defeated. He knew he still had a lot to accomplish and many goals to achieve. He would continue to work hard, improve himself, and conquer whatever obstacles lay ahead. The Calisota region's singing competition finals were just around the corner. Luca, the region's most promising contestant, was about to face his biggest challenge yet. The top 5 contestants from each region would advance to the national finals. However, their regional ranking would significantly impact their overall score. Entering the national finals as the top contestant from his region would give him a significant advantage. It would undoubtedly improve his chances of winning greater honors. To prepare, Luca often sought Earl's advice. He even asked for his help with song composition and arrangement. The finals would be held at the Alnugo University Opera House. The event would be broadcast live on television. Meanwhile, Samuel was going through a tough time. He had just found out that Jenna was living with a second-generation rich man and had moved out of the dorms. This news was a significant blow to Samuel. In his frustration, he threw away a doll he had bought online in the middle of the night. The next day, the school administrator was inspecting the area and found the doll in the bushes. They were furious and called a meeting to address the incident. They decided to inspect all dorm rooms, focusing on the men's building, to identify the person responsible. This move caused a huge stir on campus, with everyone guessing who could have been so bold as to keep such an item. Samuel was terrified, shunning all social interaction for days. Luckily, Earl and the others kept his secret, and Samuel was able to avoid trouble. However, the result of the inspection was shocking. Nothing was found in the male dorms. The female dorms, which were searched as well, revealed quite a few secrets. Eyewitnesses reported that student council members found many banned appliances in the female dorms. In fact, there were so many that inspectors had to use baskets to carry them out. The previous incident at the basketball match subtly shifted how the female residents of the shared dorm room felt about Earl. Their attitudes toward him began to change. They began visiting his dorm more often and chatted with him, even going as far as joking around. Earl's impressive performance on the basketball court had left a strong impression on them. It was obvious they had developed a crush on him. Meanwhile, Earl was busy with his projects. As the Bloody Dawn modifications improved, his income grew, and he started developing other small games. He was also working on his third song, hoping to build on the success of the first two and create another hit. Late one night, deep in thought as he was composing his next song, Earl was startled by a knock at the door. He opened it to find Anna standing there with a book in her hand. Fresh from the shower, her hair cascaded down her back, her cheeks rosy with warmth. Earl was momentarily stunned by her beauty. "Earl, where are the others?" Anna asked softly. Chapter 77. Isaac and the others have gone to the library, Earl replied. "Oh, they didn't even invite me," Anna said with a hint of disappointment. She then looked at Earl and asked, "Aren't you going to study? Finals are just around the corner." It was hard to believe their first semester at Alnugo University was nearly over. For students, failing a course was a very serious matter. It could jeopardize opportunities for scholarships, academic honors, and graduate school. In some cases, students had to retake courses. This often delayed graduation and sometimes even prevented them from earning their degrees. Earl chuckled and said, "I have some things to take care of." "Oh, okay then." Anna turned to leave but hesitated, then turned back to him. "Hey, will you go to the library with me to study?" Anna's sudden invitation caught him off guard. And when he looked into her expectant eyes, he found himself hesitating. Realizing he hadn't been studying much himself, he nodded. "Okay, wait for me while I grab my books." She took a seat inside, quietly waiting for him to gather his things. Then, the two walked out of the dorm, their steps dancing in perfect unison. The sweet fragrance of Anna's body wash filled Earl's senses. He found himself unconsciously inhaling deeply. Perhaps it was the first time they had been so close, but they didn't say much on their way to the library. Instead, they enjoyed a profound sense of peace and harmony. When they arrived, the library was packed to capacity, with every seat taken. Elite students from all over the country gathered here. They continued the same diligence and perseverance they exhibited in high school. Anyone who thought they could coast through university was in for a rude awakening. The competition was fierce, and those who couldn't keep up often didn't make it to graduation. Luckily, Earl and Anna saw a couple who were about to leave for a late-night snack. They quickly took their seats. They each pulled out their books and dove into their studies. Anna was studying with utmost dedication, occasionally biting her finger or resting her cheek on her hand. Her expression of concentration was quite captivating. Meanwhile, Earl casually flipped through textbooks on advanced mathematics and finance. The material was so elementary to him that he had it memorized in no time. He was confident that he would ace his exams without breaking a sweat. After finishing his review of the material, Earl pulled out psychology and computer programming books. He was working on developing a small game. He knew that to make it successful, he needed a design that would resonate deeply with players. Studying psychology would greatly benefit his game development. Just then, Anna interrupted his train of thought. "Earl, I'm having trouble with this question. Could you help me out?" It turned out that she was preparing for the advanced language proficiency test. Earl nodded and began explaining the concept in the simplest terms possible. He made it easy for Anna to understand. Her face lit up with gratitude as she smiled at him. "Thanks, Earl." She couldn't help but ask, "I heard you're the top science student in the state, right?" Earl downplayed the achievement, saying, "Yeah, but it was partly luck." She brightened as she exclaimed, "You're way too modest. You don't give yourself enough credit. Becoming the top student is no small feat. You're seriously impressive." Earl couldn't help but feel a little ego boost after being praised by a beautiful woman. As they continued, Anna asked another question. Once again, he was able to break it down in a way that made her listen with rapt attention. "Why don't you help me solve all the difficult problems today?" Recognizing Earl's intelligence and abilities, she was eager to seize this golden opportunity. Chapter 78. Anna dug up some old problems she had been struggling with, and Earl readily agreed to help her. She was a quiet and introverted girl, but it was this very trait that made her all the more charming. Her slender figure and subtle, sweet fragrance captivated Earl. He found himself somewhat smitten as he patiently taught her. As they sat close together, Earl would occasionally feel her skin graze him. A sense of inexplicable joy would wash over him then. They had a wonderful time studying together. When they finally finished the last question, Earl asked, "Did you understand?" But he didn't get a response from Anna. Earl glanced back and saw Anna fixedly gazing at him. Her luminous eyes held a peculiar gleam of adoration. It was as if she was lost in thought. Earl had to gently tap her to break the spell. "Did you hear what I just said?" he asked. Anna was startled, and her face turned red as she looked at Earl's smiling face. Yes, I heard you," she stuttered. Earl had already noticed that she hadn't been paying attention. He chuckled and asked, "Do you need me to explain it again?" Anna lowered her head, blushing. "No need. Let's head back." "Okay," Earl replied, helping her gather her books. They walked out of the library together. By then, night had fallen, and the surroundings were eerily quiet. Earl found great pleasure in strolling along the path with the serene woman. Anna couldn't resist stealing occasional glances at him. Her lovely eyes revealed a subtle blend of feminine bashfulness and eager expectation. Finally, Anna spoke in a soft voice. "Earl, you're a great guy. I don't know why Joshua and Ronnie are always saying mean things about you. Is there some kind of misunderstanding between you three?" Having long heard of their persistent criticism, Earl responded calmly, "Let them say what they want. My conscience is clear." Earl's disapproval of their despicable acts was unmistakable. However, they were too afraid to challenge him. He decided that it was best to leave them be, for now. Anna was astonished at how calmly Earl took it. She'd thought he'd be furious, but he simply shrugged it off with a casual smile. Anna was captivated by his serene and composed demeanor. She spoke again softly, "I think you're quite handsome, especially when you're out there playing basketball." She had never been so forward in complimenting a boy before. Embarrassed, she averted her gaze. The underlying message was clear. It was the first time Earl had been flattered so openly, and by someone as lovely as Anna, no less. He turned his head, taken aback. Under the moonlight, her shy eyes and the faint blush on her cheeks made her look even more lovely. "Thanks for the compliment," Earl said, feeling a little flustered. In the hushed moment between them, a sense of unspoken desire hanging the air. Suddenly, two women appeared from the opposite direction. Under the soft glow of the streetlights, their figures were alluring. One of them was Gigi, and the other was Belle. Earl hadn't expected to run into Belle here, so he quickly looked down, pretending not to notice her. But to his surprise, a soft, "huh," came from across him. Gigi had spotted him first. She tugged on Belle's sleeve, and soon the latter also noticed Earl's presence. Chapter 79. Belle's face went pale, and she was stunned. She couldn't believe that Earl, the man she'd dumped, was with another girl, and a good-looking one at that. The secluded path and their solitude made others assume they were a couple. Earl met Belle's gaze, finding within it a labyrinth of emotions. It was as if her eyes held secrets he couldn't unravel. But soon, Gigi pulled Belle away. As Belle's figure faded into the distance, a soft sigh escaped Earl's lips. Anna had noticed Belle and was aware of her history with Earl. Their breakup had caused a stir on campus. That said, she was shocked by the coldness she noticed between them. She asked tentatively, "You and Belle have broken up, right?" Earl smiled wryly. "We were never in a relationship to begin with, so there was no breakup." Anna thought about it and realized he was right, feeling a spark of joy in her heart. She stuck out her tongue sheepishly. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that." As they walked, they found themselves at the entrance of the women's dorm without realizing it. Earl smiled and bid Anna farewell, but she stopped him. He turned around to see her looking at him expectantly. "Earl, are you free tomorrow?" he asked, puzzled. "What's up?" A blush crept across Anna's cheeks as she shyly asked, "Can we study together again tomorrow? Besides language, I'm taking other courses too. I could use your help if I don't understand anything." "Of course," Earl agreed readily. Anna's eyes lit up with surprise. "So I'll see you tomorrow, okay?" As Earl returned to the dorm, he found Luca alone, practicing his singing. Seeing Earl return, Luca quickly showed him a song that had been composed for him by a renowned musician. Earl noticed that the quality of music Luca was presented with had improved significantly. Luca's impressive performance at the Youth Vocal Showcase attracted several prominent composers. They were now keen to support this promising young talent. Earl was satisfied with the composition, but he shared some pointers with Luca about the lyrics. As per usual, Luca was grateful for Earl's insights. In half a month, the Calisota Youth Vocal Showcase would take place at the Alnugo University Opera House. Determined to perform his best, Luca had been practicing intensively every day. After all, this was Luca's first and most crucial step toward realizing his dream. He had to put forth his best effort to earn his parents' support and understanding. The weather forecast from the previous night predicted a cold front. It would bring lower temperatures across the country. The coastal city of Alnugo would not be spared. As morning broke, snowflakes began to fall, casting a serene white veil over the landscape. Samuel, an early riser, spotted a magpie perched on a branch, chirping happily. This was a classic symbol of good tidings. Samuel couldn't help but wonder if this was a sign of Luca's success in the upcoming competition. After all, besides Luca's success, there wasn't much else to look forward to in the dorm. Chapter 80. The magpie's significance became clear when Isaac later returned. It turned out that Miranda was pregnant. The magpie's chirping at dawn was supposed to be a good omen, but Isaac's mood was far from celebratory. He looked worried, and this news had become a heavy burden on his mind. He needed to both reassure Miranda and devise a way to convince her to terminate the pregnancy. Their lack of funds was a significant obstacle in this pregnancy. The few $1,000s required for the procedure had him so stressed that he felt like his hair was turning gray. As the evening approached, Anna called Earl to invite him to the library to study together. Lately, they had been studying together more frequently. They had transitioned from secretly hiding their meetings from their roommates. Now, they were openly comfortable with each other. Whenever Anna encountered difficulties, she would turn to Earl for help. He would always manage to resolve the issues with ease. This had deepened her admiration for him, and a subtle affection had begun to grow. Samuel and Isaac had been privately speculating about whether Earl and Anna were together. But every time they brought it up, Earl would vehemently deny it. He had sensed a subtle emotional current between them. He believed Anna's feelings were rooted in appreciation for his academic guidance. Despite his best efforts, his past relationships had eroded his confidence in love. As usual, they planned to have dinner together before studying. In the cafeteria, Earl took care of getting the food, while Anna reserved their seats. Since it was snowing outside, Earl had gotten them both bowls of hot casserole soup. Anna gently wiped down the chair for Earl. Once he was seated, she thoughtfully served him his favorite dish. As Anna was about to serve the soup, she accidentally spilled it all over Earl. Panicked, Anna quickly grabbed some tissues to help Earl clean up the mess. Her face turned bright red as she apologized. "Why don't you take those clothes off and I'll wash them for you?" she suggested. Earl politely declined, feeling a little embarrassed. "It's no big deal. I can wash them myself." But Anna insisted. "Don't worry about it. I'll wash your clothes. And since I spilled your soup, why don't you have mine instead?" As Earl's gaze fell on the bowl, he noticed the faint lip print Anna had left on the rim. His pulse raced at the sight. It was no trouble at all to buy another bowl of soup, yet Anna insisted he share her bowl. The implication was unmistakable. As Earl tried to figure out how to answer Anna, he saw a group of women approaching. Among them were Belle and her roommates. Earl couldn't help but sigh at this unfortunate encounter. Belle's gaze also happened to fall on the intimate pair. She was visibly stunned. Luna let out a soft gasp of surprise. How did Anna end up with him? Since they all attended the School of Music and were in the same year, it was natural they knew each other. Luna found it almost unbelievable that a man like Earl could attract beautiful women so easily. This was especially to her, who didn't think very highly of Earl. "Belle, is it true that you and Earl have broken up?" Kylie Hogan, another girl, asked curiously. Kylie had always believed that Belle and Earl were a mismatch. She recalled how Belle had confidently claimed she would toy with Earl and make him fall at her feet. But it now seemed that Earl had never fallen for Belle, and they had broken up instead. This was so out of character for Belle. She would never give up until she got what she wanted.